All right, here we are.
Nos bureaux sont fermés. Pour des renseignements enregistrés en anglais concernant la disponibilité de notre prochain vol Concorde, composez le 9. Pour des informations enregistrées en anglais sur les arrivées et les départs de nos vols de et vers les États-Unis, composez le 1. Pour des informations
Hope everybody's well. About to get started in a second here. So today I'm going to talk about how to use the new GA4, how I'm using it. Getting things set up. Give me a second. I'm going to experiment with a couple of commercials for y'all, so hold tight.
GA4 is a race car. The proper setup will get you the best results. Welcome to the world of GA4, the race car that redefines the ultimate tracking experience. GA4 is a lot like tuning a Formula One race car. Here's why. How to switch from Universal Analytics to Google Analytics 4. Switching to GA4 is inevitable. The free version of GA was set to stop gathering data from July 2023. However, some UA properties are still function per usual, and reports are saying access to previously processed data in Universal Analytics property for at least 1 year after. Either way, Universal Analytics reports will no longer be accessible after a certain date. GA4 collects data more efficiently and has better privacy features. GA4 offers more customization, control, and real-time attribution data. GA4 is focused on event tracking, which is more flexible and easier to use. Visit fixyourtracking.com to book a consultation.
Okay. So there you have it. Use GA4 basically. Let me see if I can got a couple ideas for format. There we go. I like this one. It's a list of hooks. You'll see these coming out for content that's being produced. A little flicky action. Let me see something. I think that's supposed to be me, by the way. Super Saiyan Jordan. Actually, I'm going to show you guys. So big shout out to Dava over at Noise 13. She just hit me up last night asking for some help. I was able to get her set up. Now, although most of the time I like using the Thomas Geiger plugin for GTM, sometimes I don't need GTM in order to get something successfully put together. So in this situation, we're using Monster Insights, the free version too, not even the upgraded version. So we're doing that. This information should be feeding into her Google Analytics property right now. I just turned it on this morning, so data collection isn't active. That's normal. Usually takes about 48 hours, just like it says here. What I've learned is that's mostly because GA4 has some really heavy machine learning and attribution stuff going on in the back end. So they usually receive data, clean it, and then report it. So nothing to freak out about. One way that you can always check to see if the site's working correctly or whatnot, you can go to the site itself. Talked about this a couple of times. You can use the debugger. Chrome extension. This is if you, in this case, this is a really good use case. Let me turn down the music. Hold on. Yes, tad. I'll find a sweet spot eventually here, as far as music volume and stuff goes. Anyways, in this case, I'm using the GA debugger Chrome extension because I can't get into preview mode using GTM. I don't have GTM at all installed on this site. I believe the old website I might have had it, but I decided to try this more streamlined approach. So I am navigating around. Let's say that I click on this. This design is crazy, by the way. They're a branding agency, so they, stuff like this is super important for them. And it looks beautiful. It really does. They've done some stuff for some huge clients. Really cool to see. Go check them out if you need brand help. Anyways, if I jump over the GA and then we go into the debug mode, yeah, I'm not feeding any data there, but maybe they're going to let me see debug info. Let's see. See if they show me some love. Maybe, maybe not, y'all. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Maybe it's not going to work until it's officially connected and feeding. I don't know. I've never done this before in this way. Okay, well, there's that. You'll also notice the page like this where it just says no data received from your website. So that's going to always show up if you don't have it connected. And so I just want to make sure that everybody knows that. And the way to connect it, go over to your data stream, grab your ID here, and then drop that wherever you need to. Sometimes it's going to be in the back end. So this situation with Monster Insights on WordPress, pretty straightforward. There was actually a prompt. Let me see if I can get back to it. And jump over to this WordPress dashboard. I know this will be useful for somebody. That pointer keeps on throwing me off a bit. Actually, let me check something else. Live streaming will drain the crap out of your battery, so I'm going to take the necessary precautions here. Trying to keep these wires out of the way so everything's clean. Let's go this direction. All right, cool. So when I'm back here, essentially I went to, I think it's this one. Just in the settings report, they actually, man, I'm having every issue I can possibly have. This is great. All right, here we go. Whenever you're on the setup wizard, they're going to ask you to authenticate with Google, and you can kind of do it this way as well and just say reconnect and choose it that way. I can go measurement protocol API. If you don't know, they actually have a link, and this is going to tell you about measurement API. I've used the measurement protocol API in situations where mostly for high level CRM, because you can kind of track how people move through your CRM once they're in there and they are interacting with your site. Maybe they get upgraded because they bought a course, or maybe they get included into like a VIP group or something, whatever. You can use the measurement protocol to send things that way. So that's pretty cool. Let me just share this real quick. So it's a piece of documentation that's connected to Monster Insights. And I don't really have a huge opinion on using stuff like this, Monster Insights, or some of these other plugins. I just prefer to use GTM. It seems to be like, obviously natively integrated is always going to be a win, but it's also very flexible. It's probably overkill for this type of client, so that's why I decided to go the other way. But anyways, that's how you do that. Basically, you just would connect this way, and they're going to ask me for like typical Google login stuff. So it'll look like this. Then I pick data add. You can pick whatever Google Analytics profile you've got attached to it, and then it'll connect that way. You got to choose the account, and you're in there. I'm legit just reconnecting it. Just want to make sure you guys see it. Not rocket science. At this point, everything should be straight. They can ask me if I want to anonymize the IPs. Not too worried about that. They got some cross-domain stuff. You can actually do this inside of GA4 instead. I would highly suggest that instead of using a tool like this, you just want to, control your settings inside of Google itself. What if for whatever reason they wanted to stop using Monster Insights, they wanted to use some other site or some other plugin, or maybe this site owner gets out of WordPress and they go to Squarespace, or they go to Webflow or something like that. They no longer have access to the plugin. This would be one way to do it. Keep everything inside of the property itself. They got some custom dimension stuff. This is all cute. They got form tracking that's natively integrated with GA4, but I'll deal with that later. The only other downside I would say of not having GTM is I can't use the preview mode to debug a setup in an event before I send it over. I prefer to do it that way. I'm sure there's a way to do it while also having a plugin, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and do it this way. So one of the biggest things that I've noticed as an asset in my business is being able to find a solution regardless of the tools that I'm using. So using Monster Insights is just an opportunity for me to learn a new tool. Then they got some connectors here. Obviously, you guys know by now, Google Search Console, Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, BigQuery. All these are part of the Google Suite, and they will natively connect, right? And you do that inside of, you guessed it, GA4 backend. There's a whole bunch of product links right here in the settings. So when you click admin here, you can come over to this product links section. And this is the same thing that they're trying to get you to pay a premium to link. You can just do it this way. I don't know if I have access to it or not, but we'll see. I don't. Stained the mattress. Oh man. Yikes. That is the name of an affiliate site we once had. Let me see if I even have. I had Noise 13 at some point. It's in GA, or I'm sorry, a different account. I'd rather have this problem than not being able to find it at all. So let me switch accounts over. I'm gonna go connect this just to easily feed data back and forth. Kind of the mentality I have here is you should connect and collect information if you can. A second here. Okie dokie. Let me jump over. I got noise somewhere in here. Here it is. Hey, data collection is active. Okay. I bet that the debugger is going to work at this point. Let's check. Let's check. Refresh. I'm still going to do this, so just keep in mind, Google Search Console is happening. Give me a second. Just want to play around with this real quick. And I want to see if me moving around the site. So I just moved around the Noise 13 site itself. Trying to see if I'm going to get any love in the debug tool. Sometimes takes a little while to connect. Nada, not yet. Okay. Damn, is anything going to work now that I'm trying to show you guys? That's how it goes. Here we go. So, Noise 13 connected to this account, so I can connect it to GA4, and it looks like this. And it says web streams. Yes, I don't know why they call it web stream, but data stream. And then link created. Okay, probably more importantly, if I have a merchant center account and I have an e-commerce store, you would want to connect that. So that looks very similar. This client isn't doing that. They're a brand agency, so they don't really have any merch to sell. They might one day, but right now they don't. And then I can go check and see if they have a Google Ads account that they gave me access to, because I'm not sure. Just haven't done that yet. And it looks like there's nothing here. So they're not running ads right now. Or at least they haven't invited me to see that. BigQuery as well. I like setting up BigQuery, but got to be careful. You don't necessarily want to own that BigQuery instance when you're dealing with a client that may or may not be with you for, for forever. It's very difficult to hand over a data warehouse, I've noticed. So try to do it this way. Anyways, let's check on the debug one more time. Try to see if anything came through. Doesn't look like it. No biggie. Okay, so let's look at a good example of how I've set this up for others using GTM. I'm going to switch accounts again. Yeah, man, I might have to get a dedicated like machine for streaming. Super slow mover. Let's see, what's a good example? I'm gonna look for Genesis. Genesis is good. Okay, here we go. Website. So these guys care mostly about phone calls. They don't have, I don't know why we got conversions here instead of users. It's very strange. Let's switch this up. That's fine. Okay, so essentially I set this up so that we could have phone call related events, but specifically based on location. So let's see if we had anything. All right, so I just pushed this live last week, and you can see what's going on here, which is pretty dope. And if I just, obviously I want to rate it or sort it based on what's going on. No specific interest means people are just poking around, but they're not necessarily choosing location. Grapevine interest. So anything that's like this underscore interest means that they went to the actual location page. They might not have called or submitted a form, which is fine for me. I think it's really cool to be able to quickly look into this or any report that just has events listed and figure out which locations are the most popular at any given time. So we got Grapevine, Austin North, Aurora, which is in Colorado, and then we got McKinney. Okay. So I can see where people are most interested. Maybe that tells the client a little bit something about where they should be putting their ad dollars, where they have a decent presence. This could also come in really handy in traditional media. So if they're running any kind of radio ads, billboards, things like that, and then they see a certain area, get a spike in interest, that could be a direct correlation. Unless they wanted to get into like UTMs with parameters and all that other stuff. The only thing that I've noticed about that is there's not like a clean way to do it other than using a vanity URL with a redirect. So imagine being like, hey, go to genesisback.com. I'll show you the website. Tell people, running a radio ad, hey, get help. We have this facility, blah, blah, blah. If you experience back pain, whatever the pitch is, go to genesisback.com. So that would be like the blanket normal thing that everybody would want to do. However, unless you're using a vanity URL and you can see the traffic that's coming from that redirect, it'd be very, very difficult to see what kind of traffic you're actually getting from a radio ad. So what you could do is say McKinney back, or go to McKinneygenesis.com. That is just, obviously it convolutes it a bit. because people can misspell things, etc. I prefer to use a link with UTM parameters so that there's no like question. But if you really needed to get creative, I suppose you could go that direction. All right, let me jump back over here. So one thing that they did before I got here was they had this phone call conversion situation. So all these phone calls would track, and then they had _ and the location. I know that this is connected inside of GTM, but I don't really like the way it's set up. So, I want to kind of put my own spin on this, and I'll show you what that looks like. Yo, this site is hella slow though. I don't know why. Let me kill some of these tabs. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I got hella tabs. Always. All right, let's see. Yeah, there's so much lag right now. Give me a sec. I don't really know why it's doing this. Everything is hella slow. Let's see something. It might be because I'm running. Oh no, Google Drive is running right now. Give me a second, y'all. I'll just have to come back. I bet that's it. Just trying to download a whole bunch of stuff at the same time to use it as commercials. All right, anyways, let's talk about this. So I've got my last little thing that I want to figure out is call duration. That is something that you can do inside of let's see what they did. They updated the workspace. I'm interested in seeing. Yeah, it doesn't have anything. Alrighty. Call duration's being tracked inside of Google Ads right now. It's not getting tracked here though. We have a tag called Tulsa website lead. Let's take a look at it and see what they did here. It's a Google Ads thing. So one of the things you guys are going to see me do is I like to use variables instead of just showing like the full conversion ID. The label, I believe, is going to change. The conversion ID stays the same. It might be vice versa. Google Ads people, let me know. But hell, I might be able to just show you. They've got the guy who, big shout out to Ben. He's the one who referred me here. So I'm going to I want him to do what he wants to do on his side. My job is to support it and figure out how to make it a little bit better. So yeah, he just set this up an hour ago for some reason. Maybe it wasn't working. I'm not sure. But anyways, let's go into preview mode and take a look at some things. Dude, this is painfully slow. Let me switch up this music. Hey, I took a chance on this one, y'all. I might play some chill vibes every once in a while, but this one's not quite what I wanted. Okay, so big shout out to the DaVinci plugin. Shows all the logos and everything. It's pretty clean. Anyways, so I've got this phone call event and it's set this way. We're using the brand new setup. Everything got pushed over to that G tag setup. Check out my other videos to see that. But essentially, I've got a couple of things that I choose from here. So I don't know if you guys know already, but there's this events parameter section where I can add different things that I want to track. This is going to push over every single time that this particular event fires. So right now I've got a lookup table that pulls in location, depending on what page that person's on. And then it's going to attach the phone call to it if a phone call is made. I also have the same exact setup for form submit along with these same parameters. So one thing that's kind of interesting is I can create visitor location and call duration. You just got to remember that. I can create what's called a event settings variable. And this allows me to have this without having to type it in every single time. So this is going to essentially be the last time I actually have to do this, which is cool. It's that one. And then call duration. Figure out this part. I've never done a call duration based data layer variable before. However, I do think that what I'll be able to do is, this is the catch, right? Call duration means it's pretty obvious, right? However, how do I track when the call is over? How do I track when the call is complete? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm willing to kind of figure that out. So that's what I'm going to do there. Event settings variable. Location. Let's go location plus duration. Kind of a long name, but you know, whatever. So that's there. So imagine a situation where I have certain information that I want to push through for certain events, but then I have a whole another side of the website that's maybe like a e-commerce situation or whatever. That happens sometimes. People do that. With those events, like purchase events, add to carts, view item, things of that nature, I could actually choose to pull in different information. That different information could look like, and by the way, I don't need these anymore, so I can get rid of both of those and just do this and show my inherited parameters. They're here. And then I can override those at any given time if I wanted to. It's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. Anyways, or I could add to it. So I can go variable plus I want to add some more. But let's think about e-commerce. It would look something like this. I could put a value-based parameter, and then this is a static image, or static variable, but not static variable, static value. But it would look something like that in theory. We could go shipping. Let's say shipping's $3. Let's say transaction ID. This is a standard feature. So you can see that these are all being flagged as known parameters. So the reason that's important is I won't have to use any kind of custom dimensions or metrics in order to get the information into GA4. So let's say that that's a transaction ID. Let's say that the tax looks like this. And let's say the tax is 8.25% or something. I don't know. You get the point. The idea here is I can use one event settings variable for certain groups of events. I could use the folders value to keep those separated. And then for a whole different one, I'd have a different event settings variable. So I could go purchase. And then I can call it an event settings variable, ESV. And then save from there. So it's pretty dope. I love it. I think it's interesting. So go here, call this ESV, short, the location, duration. And then they didn't even give me the updated version. It's all good. I'll get it in a second. So then if I save here, and then let's go back, and we can go right here. And let's go ESV location duration. So I've got both of those. Get rid of this tax parameter. I don't need that. So, okay, we're good to go. So that's there. I can also set up the same exact thing inside of the form submit event. Right now we have location plus form submit. So I mentioned that earlier, but then I can go ESV. So we can go inherited. I'm sorry, inherited here. So it's going to be these plus these other things that we're going to try to pull in from the actual form submit itself. First name, last name. These are really useful things to have, right? Email as well as the message itself. I'm not sure I can pull in the message, but I'm going to try to. Anyways, these are there. So then we go from here and let's take a look at the rest of the GA4 events. I think those are the only ones that I did. The one thing that I've learned about Tag Manager is I don't need to have a form submit is a form submit. So a form submit is an event. It's an action that's happening on the page. If I wanted to identify a form submit that's for a contact page versus for a newsletter versus for a, I don't know, product inquiry or something like that, I could actually use this event inside of GTM and then manipulate it once it hits GA4. And that would look something like this. Just want you guys to have a clear example. So we could go here and I could go modify event or create event. If I modify the event, then the core event name, so location form submit, I would have to essentially scrap that. It won't come through. Now, if I wanted to have an overall count of all those form submit events, in a case where I wasn't breaking them down by location anyways, right? So all this is going to be broken down by location, so it doesn't matter, essentially. I would be able to use modify event, and before it hits reporting, it would switch. So let's say a situation where I have form submit set up, but it's a newsletter form submit. I would use modify event and be able to go here and say, let's change and modify form submit. I'll change the name of it in a bit. And if there is an element, let's say, I could go element class, maybe. Let's say that whenever you go and you inspect the element, you see that it's called form something like this. Whatever. I don't know CSS or any of that, but let's say that it's like this, right? So if this element class equals that, or I could go does not equal, you have to be kind of smart with how you want to solve problems. If you see a certain move and you're able to deduce what's going to trigger the right event, then you should use that. That's kind of how I approach this. In this case, equals is the default, so that's fine. And then I can switch the event name. Newsletter, form, submit. You always want to use snake case since we're in GA4. GA4 prefers you use snake case. It's the standard naming convention, and it allows it to get into reports easily and things of that nature. So anyways, it would look like this. So then I could modify the name. Keep in mind that the modification name is only going to be visible to me. It's not for the reporting side of things. So I could just call it this. And so every single time that there's a form submit with a form, or I'm sorry, element class form pound CSS like this, and then this newsletter form submit will fire instead. We actually did this. I can give you an even better example. Oops, I'm sorry, it wasn't even showing you guys the right tab there. All right, so look something like this. You have conditions. These are matching conditions. These things have to be true in order for this to happen. Okay. I'm not going to save this because we're not doing that with this. A direct example I can give you guys is this one. So we have McKinney phone call whenever there's an event name that's equal to phone call. And the visitor location is McKinney. Then I have this location. So one of the problems that I've noticed is if I have it matching this one condition, and then I want to modify location based on a phone call, I need to make sure that I understand how this is working. So I had some help on this one, and it's just slightly off. Honest mistake though. So if you don't have visitor location already placed here, then how would I know the difference between just a phone call without an initial condition called McKinney? In this case, we do have access to that before the phone call takes place because of where the person is navigating on the site. So that's kind of cool. And then we can add this in this way. So I have the event name, I have the visitor location, and then I have the modification name. Okay. And here you would want to actually go event name, put it here. I don't know why this went down like this, but hey, I'm glad I took a look. Again, honest mistake. This stuff happens. Big shout out to the guys. They know who they are, who helped me with this. But yeah, just had to clean that up a bit. Now the difference, one thing that I want you guys to see is you can have what's called phone call Dallas. So this one is based on event category, event label. If you know, you know. Event category and label are leftovers from Universal Analytics. The cool thing is we now have access. So when the new Google tag came out, we now have access to using these category and label fields again. I probably won't, but for those who are migrating from UA to create a GA4 property directly from how it's already set up, then you could use these, and this could very well help you. I don't like how this looks, and also I wanted to clean this up. I think there's a way to make this a little bit better. They created the event inside of GA4, clearly. There's one, two, three, there's a lot of these based on what I just showed you. Instead, what you can do is just have one phone call event with a modify event, right? Based on location. So then I could even go as far as visitor location equals, I wonder if there's a way to say is greater than, is less than, matches. I wonder if I could do, as long as it isn't undefined type of thing. And then have the location here. I'll play around with that, but essentially what I want is one modified event that covers all locations based on a variable, similar to what I did with the lookup table inside of GTM. I might already have it set that way, but we'll see. I'll play with this and get this into the system in a correct way. There also might not even be a need to have a modified event because of the way that the events are going to come into the system in the first place. So all interesting stuff, all super niche for this particular client. And so they should never see a phone call event at all. So I don't really need any kind of modified event or anything in this case, because we're modifying it on this level, which is nice. Okay, but let's say a situation where, let me show you guys something. Let's go ahead and go preview mode. Genesis back.
You gonna dwell on that?
Yes.
It's kind of slow here. Give me a sec.
Scott, I work week.
Get rid of everybody.
She said that?
Yeah, no, my music's not working at all. Interesting. Okay, well, you guys can see this. So let's walk through this real quick. So I'm just going to scroll down and get into the locations. And then let's say I click on McKinney. Oh my gosh, this is so slow. The point that I want you guys to see is that if I jump over to this guy, we can see what's happening on the left-hand side. So we have an entire situation here. And then you can see what's being fed into GA4. But on the tag side of things, there should be, waiting for this thing.
Yep.
It's still taking a while. So if you guys take a look at preview, you'll see the events start to come through. Taking a while to load for some reason. I don't really know what's going on with my connection. It's kind of annoying. It says waiting for Genesis back.
Oh.
You have the universal analytics tag firing. Obviously, they're not collecting data anymore, so it doesn't really matter. Again, a lot of times I'm going to be going into other people's setups. I don't really treat it as a situation where I need to go turn off a whole bunch of stuff they got going on. My job is to set up my part correctly, right? So I have this visitor location event. Every time that I go to a location specific page, I can pull that in, and then I use that event inside of the parameter values at that point. And it looks something like this. And so one thing, it's a pro tip, you have to go to wherever that event is triggered. In this case, it is based on a container load. So as soon as the container loads, if I click on this and then I go over to names, you're going to see the way that the variable appears in the parameter designation as well as in the event name. So I use a variable for the event name itself on the front side so that whenever I clicked on the value, I can see what location I'm pulling in. This is based on a lookup table again. And then you see inside of the event settings table, you can see these things. And this event settings table is the variable, is what it is, the event settings variable that I set up just a moment ago. So that's going to look that way. Took forever, but hey, it's in here. And then if I click on the phone call, you're going to see this, and it says open FaceTime on my side. I don't think you guys can see that on your side, but as soon as I make that click, you're going to see a phone call. So this phone call is also going to have the visitor location lookup table, and I can see that it is from McKinney. So McKinney underscore phone call. So basically, everything that I just showed you inside of GA4 as far as modifying events is irrelevant, because if I have this McKinney underscore phone call, then I can just use McKinney underscore phone call as the designation. I don't have to have the event name be called phone call. I don't have to have a separate phone call catch-all where I typically would. But in this case, since I'm using one website and I've got 27 different locations, very, very specific use case, I wanted to put the location inside of the event name itself. So this is going to dynamically populate every single time. All right, that's all I got. That's all I got for today. Hope that makes sense. Let me know. Hit me up. These that just say interest are all based on this guy. And I want you guys to see this. Let me share this. It's all based on this. So it means that they got to the page, but they didn't take an action yet. They didn't take at least a counted action. So the only actions that are counted on this particular page are going to be if someone does a form submit or a phone call. And again, this is a service-based, I don't know the exact name of this, but it's this DRX 9000 spinal decompression system. Not 100% sure exactly what all that is, but this photo kind of shows you what they do. And that is something that you have to consume on premises. You can't like buy it. It's not an e-com product. So in this case, I want to make sure that I'm only tracking what matters. So we got form submit, we got phone calls. Either one of those is probably going to lead to them actually coming in and, spending money. So that's what I got. Appreciate you guys. I'll be back doing another one of these. I don't know what's going on with my music right now. It's broken, but it's what it is. All right, peace.